Carsie, where are you right now?
I am in Jersey, but just over the Pennsylvania line. I'm like in North Jersey now.
Wait,
That's where
what?
I'm living. I know. I lived in New Orleans for a long time. Before that, I lived in Philly for a long time. I met your guy Reed when I lived down there.
Yeah.
And then in the pandemic, I relocated. All my like band and family and everybody's in the Philly area. So
Wait, but like, hold on, because
okay.
I've been like, here's the thing. I've seen Luray, Virginia.
Yep.
I've seen Eugene, Oregon. I've seen
Yep.
San Francisco, New Orleans,
Wow.
Philadelphia.
You've been reading my Wikipedia page.
But like, what's the real story? Like, who are you? Where are you? Like, where are you from?
Oh, Adam, it's complicated. I grew up in Luray, which is a little tiny town in the Shenandoah Valley of
I
Virginia.
love that town.
Really?
Let
How
me
would you how could you possibly know anything about that town?
Because you and I have so much in common. You like don't even know.
Tell me about it.
Like by the end of this conversation, you're gonna be like, "How have we not met? I don't understand."
I have wondered that. I have wondered that. I already can tell we have a lot in common. But go on, you tell your story first.
Luray is like Shenandoah area,
Mhm.
right? And a couple years ago, we played the 930 Club on the. We did a tour with co-headline tour with Big Frida, and we had one day off in Virginia. And I just drove to Luray, Virginia, and spent like 36 hours there.
That's that's so crazy. You probably ran into my dad. He's always just like gallivanting around that town.
I love it there because I collect books and there's like nice bookstores there and antiques and
Yep.
it's just very pretty and secluded.
It is. It was a really nice place to be a kid because you can like run around and catch salamanders and stuff, and then terrible place to be a teenager.
Well, okay, because I met some queer people there
Yeah,
the day I was there, but you never know, like, can you ask, like, what's it like here? What's the deal? But
yeah.
what was it like to grow up there? Maybe just a little bit wilder than the town.
Well, I'll tell you, if you drive over the mountain from Luray, you get to like Sperryville, which is still a town you probably wouldn't hear of, but it's closer to DC. And Sperryville is where all the punk rockers would go
Okay.
play like field parties. So when I was like 15, the deal was we would find somebody who had a car, drive across the mountain, and go to a field party, which in case for the city people, a field party is where they set up a stage and a sound system in a field, and somebody gets a couple kegs, and then punk rock bands play, and everybody like mosh pit in a field somewhere.
Yeah.
So that was the big excitement when I was a kid. Other than like shoplifting from Walmart, those were the two things we could think of to do that were fun in Luray.
Sure. Um, but I guess Luray wasn't like a great place to start trying to have like a music career. Like you had to get out of there.
Had to get out of there. Yeah, so that's where Eugene came into the equation. So I left home kind of early. I was 16. I moved to Eugene with a bunch of musicians that I had met at summer camp. And I joined a funk band. I was a backup singer. And I went on my first tour with that band, and I remember just like it was when I think back now, I'm like that was crazy. I was 16. I was touring like the random dive bars of the West Coast with this funk band. Everybody was giving me free drinks, and I was just like, this is awesome. And it was awesome. So I think that's what gave me the bug to
Yeah.
try and really be a musician.
So the touring, this crazy lifestyle that you and I have in common.
No, that's two
Um,
things.
you know, I heard you say on your one of your rent party uh live streams, which are fantastic.
Oh, thanks.
I heard
I
you
watch
say,
yours too.
well, you're on it right now. God damn it.
I mean, of course.
I heard you say it was the best of times, it was the worst of times, all the time. What a great way to describe the touring life, especially when you're on that dive bar level.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but like I no longer am on that quote unquote dive bar circuit, and I'm not sure post pandemic if it'll even exist, but
Either.
I miss it. Do you?
Totally. It's funny because I am barely off of that circuit. In fact, maybe I'm not. It remains to be seen at the end of the pandemic whether I've like gotten into the next echelon of touring life or not. But I did it for so long that I think I got really exhausted by it. So like right before the pandemic hit, we were talking about taking some time off the road just because we'd been like I myself had been road dogging at that point for like 15 years, and my bass player's been with me for 11 years, my keyboard player for 6 years. So we just had a lot of road dog years under our belt. And I remember having some conversations like maybe we should chill out and just like take some time. And then the pandemic hit, and for a minute I was like, cool, we'll have some time off. And then after like a month and a half, I was like, okay, let's get back out there, kids. Um, so mixed bag, but yeah, I really do love touring. I even love like the ridiculous, terrible parts of it. I miss it all.
You said you 15 years, and like me too. I'm a little older than you, so I've been doing a little longer, but I like didn't get a single dose of any kind of encouragement or success until well into my 30s.
Yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, over a decade of playing just the shittiest places you could possibly imagine. I don't know about you, but like a lot of people in my life, people I went to school with, friends, family, just everybody around me had this sort of quiet, like, we don't know what the fuck he's doing with himself. Like, it's, I don't think it's getting to anything. But I
They're
would,
like, this is embarrassing for us.
yeah.
Same.
How was the tour? Um, but
Oh,
like,
you're still doing that? Oh.
exactly. One time I went to a dinner, like a extended family dinner, and somebody just said, "How can you justify this? How can you
Whoa.
justify continuing to do this? This is crazy."
Straight
But
for the jugular with that one. That's
yeah,
the question you never want to have to answer even to yourself.
but what was it for you? What has it been for you that kept you coming back when it's such a difficult way to live?
Oh man. That's that's a great question. I think that one thing the pandemic has made really clear for a lot of us, including for me, is that I have a very low tolerance for routine. So I think that's part of it, is that I just am like, I need stimulation, I need travel, I need new faces, I need like stuff to be different all the time. And touring is the perfect job for people with that personality. It's like our job, and then like being like a traveling food critic like Anthony Bourdain. Those are the two where like see the world, meet crazy people, be rich, be poor, eat good food, eat bad food, play a great show, play a terrible show. It's like lots and lots of fodder for,
Right.
brains that are easily bored.
I listen. I told you we had a lot in common, and we are just getting started. But
Yeah.
so, like, okay, but you end up leaving Virginia, go to Eugene, and then it was Philly. And so I live in Philly. You lived in Philly for how long?
I think 7 years or something like that.
And this, while living here, it seems like I hate the word career, but the resonance of what you were doing seemed to grow a little bit while you were here, right? Would you say?
Yeah. So I moved to Philly from Eugene. I was 21, and I kind of was like, I had had a semi-real job before that. And I moved out here, and I was like, I'm gonna try music for 1 year. Like I'd already done touring and played shows and been a songwriter and made a record, but I was still sort of like holding at arm's length. Like that's a crazy thing to do for your job. And then I was 21, and I like went through a breakup. It was a classic. Went through a breakup, decided to switch coasts, move back to the East Coast, and I was like, you know what? If I don't try music now, I'm never gonna try it, and I'm always gonna wonder what would have happened. So I tried it, and I kind of lucked out early in that I connected with a manager from Philly by the name of Bill Ibe, who I bet you know.
I don't.
Maybe you don't know him. Okay, he's a he's kind of like an old head. He's like a from the previous world of the music industry. He's like really tall guy, always wears a blazer, walks around like he knows what's going on. So I connected with him, and he was an old school kind of manager too, in that he did what they call artist development. So
Hmm.
rather than just trying to get me whatever a record deal, he would do stuff. He would go to all my shows and then give me like good usable feedback on the shows. And
Sure.
the other thing he did a lot is he would take me to like big exciting shows. Like he would take me to see Bob Dylan or see Hall and Oates, and he would get me backstage, and he would be standing back there with me, and he would always go, "This is where you belong. See this? This is where you belong."
Mhm.
And I still feel like that was probably what made it stick for me. Like in the really hard parts of that 15 years of road dogging, I think having that experience of like having somebody really believe in me
Mm.
when I was so young is one of the things that made me kind of pull through and keep doing it when it was hard.
Sure. What were some of the venues you played here in town? I'm in Philly now.
Yeah, of course. Man, I played most of the venues in Philly. I played the Tin Angel like 1,000 times probably.
Gone.
I played the old Grape Street.
Gone.
Yep. What was the one that was in Old City? It was like down the street from the Tin Angel, but
Kyber.
what was it?
Kyber.
Kyber, played Kyber. Yep,
Gone.
exactly. Gone. Okay, what was the one? This is a good pop quiz. What was the one on like Poplar and like 28th or something?
Mm.
It was the Star or something. Something
Oh,
with a
North Star
star.
Bar. North Star Bar.
North Star Bar. Played that.
Gone. We shut that place down pretty much.
Oh, nice. Oh, that's sad though. Oh yeah, and then of course Boot and Saddle was the last show I played in Philly. Also gone, I heard.
Gone.
Bummer, dude.
Did you ever play a bar called the Tritone?
Where was it?
South and 15th. Across from Bob and Barbara's, the drag and
Yeah, I
bar.
don't think so. I think I
Okay.
missed that one.
But you did the rounds of all these cool little clubs in Philly.
Yep.
Um, and Philly crowds are tough. So do you feel like that got you um prepared you for the road in some ways? These just like no bullshit Philly people?
No bullshit. Absolutely. And actually, this is another thing we have in common. One thing I really love about you, Adam, and about your show is that you take seriously the privilege of being on stage, and you try to be actually really entertaining the whole time. And I feel like that on one hand it's like, of course that's the job of an entertainer, but on the other hand most people are not as entertaining as you are on stage. And so I think
Thank you.
playing for tough crowds and kind of playing all over Philly and doing every show I could get also gave me a sense of like, if you're up there you'd better be entertaining, you're going to lose their attention really fast.
Sure.
So I don't sweat and cry and scream on stage, although I love watching you do it. I tell jokes, and I have little skits that the band does, and I try to treat it more like a variety show. Like if I'm
Sure.
on a stage, I want to make sure that whatever is happening is more interesting than like look at your phone or talk to your friend or whatever.
That's it. I think you do a beautiful job, and I think you're just getting better and better.
Oh, thanks.
What do you're going to hate this question.
Oh
Your eyes
boy.
are about to roll. What do you think? So there's singing, songwriting, performing, stage banter, visuals, lyric. Like, what do you think your top thing is? Like, what do you identify the most as? The writing, the performer, the vocalist, the guitar player, what?
Ooh, good one. I think I'm a writer first, a songwriter first, and I don't want to say a lyricist first, but like lyrics are really high up on the list
Sure.
of what I feel like I'm not even the best at, but like what's the most fun for me.
Sure.
My happy place is like working on a song where I'm finding it really entertaining. So like a funny song or a turn of phrase that to me really cracks me up.
Sure.
That's my happy place. I could do that for infinite hours and not feel bored.
You have so many, which brings me to another thing that we have in mind. You have this, my favorite song of yours, like by far, is your song "Jacket"
Nice.
off of your last record before this one, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Where you say, correct me if I'm wrong. I like your shirt. I like your jacket. I think about you when I whack it. Is that the line?
That's right. I like to think about you when I whack it,
I'm
but
sorry.
very close. No, I'm so thrilled that you
No,
like that song.
that is a little different. No, like nobody would be surprised watching my show that I'm horny and I have a very dirty mind. And we do a private show with Tough Cookies that's adults only.
Nice.
But like you are unapologetically uh dirty minded
Horny. You could
in
say
in
horny.
everything that you do. And I just think it's fabulous.
Oh, thank
Um,
you.
did it take time for you, because you have a lot of records and a lot of years on the road, doing that as a woman, to feel confident to do that every night and with all your songs, or was it there right out of the gate?
It totally took some time for me to feel comfortable sharing that as part of my sort of persona. So like doing it on stage or putting songs like that on a record. But for me it's the same thing I was saying earlier. It's the journey of like being more and more serious about the job of trying to entertain yourself.
Sure.
So like I've always been, you know, into sex and like someone who finds sex really funny also.
Sure.
So I think that, you know, letting that part of my personality shine through my songs was part of the process of like becoming more and more myself and becoming more entertaining to myself. But
Sure.
yeah, of course, it's like it's a crazy area of stuff to talk about on stage as a woman. But on the other hand, it's like I come from a tradition of women that do that. Like Mae West is one of my favorite entertainers, and she also is a super great, I say lyricist. She didn't really write songs, but like she was a playwright and she wrote these incredible one-liner quippy things. So like in 1930, when the press would like run up to Mae West and try and get her to talk, she would say something like, "Well, a hard man is good to find."
Yeah.
And she would just say stuff like that because she knew the press would print it. Because
Sure.
she was like, it was her way of like kind of manipulating the press cycle. So like part
Yeah.
of it is PR, but part of it is just being that like archetype of like a Mae West or a Dolly Parton, where it's like female sexuality is powerful, it can be funny, and it can still happen when you're smart.
Sure. Oh, I love that. I just watched a few Mae West films. There's a collection
Nice.
on the Criterion channel right
Yeah.
now that I highly recommend. And been just doing a lot of reading about her, and she was just so trailblazing and so completely in control of what she was doing. She was writing all of her material, and if it really was the censorship that came into Hollywood in 1934 that really, and she was a big part of why that came in.
Yep.
But
It's for her.
she was such a trailblazer, and I feel like it took like 80 years for Hollywood to catch back up. And
Totally.
it still is.
Yep. Yeah, I love. I read a autobiography of hers called "Goodness Had Nothing to Do with It," which I really recommend. Is super entertaining. But she talks about how she wrote this play, and the play was called Sex, and it
Right.
was during the, what do they call them, the blue laws or whatever. So censorship had already started, but it opened on Broadway, and of course everybody loved it, and it was like a mob scene of people trying to get in. And then I believe it was on opening night. It was at least an opening week. The police pulled up a bunch of vans and arrested everybody in the play and
Right.
took them to jail. And it turned out, like she says in her autobiography, she had actually orchestrated that to happen that way because she knew that it would all be headlines and that everyone would want to see the play after that.
No, she was brilliant.
Yeah.
But again, that's one of the reasons I asked you what you see yourself as, because here's the thing, Carsie. I don't know if you feel this way. Like, the music business segregated itself from the entertainment business like a few decades ago.
Mm.
And suddenly being in bands or being a singer, um, excluding the absolute sort of top 1% of pop performers, it wasn't, like performing in a wider entertainment and media landscape wasn't like part of the picture.
Yeah.
um, People became much more um, self-serious.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I just earlier today interviewed two amazing performers from the Fifth Dimension, Marilyn McCoo and Billy Davis Jr. They were the first Black couple to have their own television show.
Wow.
They were singers, dancers, comedians, actors. it, and the culture that they grew up in music was you need to be good at everything.
Right.
Um,
That's how you
and
get a gig.
sure. So I think that I'm excited about this record for you because it sort of seems like it's bringing together a lot of the things that you do well, and I'm hoping that it reaches more ears. You know,
Thank you.
um, I want to ask you about the song "Be Good" because um, I think it's a fantastic single, and it's got a very simple, singable believable refrain: be good to the people you love and love everybody alive.
So
um,
simple.
where did this song come from? Was it before the pandemic or during or what?
That one was a during the pandemic song. So this album, Love and Rage, I made it sort of in two chunks. The first chunk of songs I had written back like summer of 2019, and it had already started developing this theme of like apocalypse, impending doom, feeling like the world's falling apart. So in some ways, when the pandemic hit, I was like, okay, time to finish the album, like pretty clearly. But then there's sort of two projects. Like the Love and Rage title is describing these two things going on that I'm trying to work out in those songs. And one is that feeling of apocalypse and like doom, and also rage. Like, why is the world falling apart this way? Why is it so bad for people in so many ways? And then on the other hand, this feeling of camaraderie and like, everybody on the planet is like trying to make it, trying to get through, trying to help each other. There's a lot of love at the same time. So then the trick was to try and get those two ideas into songs. So with Be Good, I had a lot of the songs, and I knew I needed a song that was sort of like one of the master thesis songs of the record. So I had like the master thesis rage song, and I needed the master thesis love song. So I was actually thinking about Che Guevara when I wrote that song. I was reading a biography of Che, and I had been involved in some different political movements, actually with Philly Liberation Center. Shout
Okay.
out to them. And I was thinking about this idea of socialism and how socialism is actually a really simple idea. And the idea is like, what if instead of these two guys own everything and everyone else doesn't, we just shared stuff? Like, that's really the essential idea, is like, what if we just shared everything and then everyone would have enough stuff? And then I kind of got stuck on this thing of like, that's such a simple idea and a very sweet idea. And it's kind of crazy that it has been vilified to such an intense degree. And like,
Sure.
people have been assassinated for trying to share that very simple idea, like all throughout history. So that song was trying to get across that concept, like, what if you just loved everybody and you were good to the people you loved? It's really simple. But at the same time, there's the idea of like, this is a good way to get killed, is saying this really simple message.
Sure.
So in the song I talk about Jesus and I talk about Martin Luther King, who were both essentially assassinated for saying that. There used to be a Che Guevara verse, but it got cut.
I think it's great and certainly has echoes of Imagine,
Mm,
um, in that there's a naivete to it, but it's willful naivete. Uh,
yeah.
why should this be a naive position to take?
Right.
Uh,
Or like, what's so funny about Peace, Love, and Understanding could
sure.
go in that genre where it's like, wait a second, what's wrong with this idea? It's actually a pretty good one.
Right. I see you wear this "fuck fascism" shirt a lot. Um,
Yeah.
I love this phrase, and you know, for a performer like you, like me, another thing we have in common, we're trying to make people feel joy. We're trying to make people feel turned on, in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
How is for you, like, how is sexuality in your performance a tool against fascism? Because for some people that might not seem so obvious.
Oh, that's such a good question. I mean, first of all, fascists hate feeling turned on because it reminds them that they're alive and they're part of the human race. And that's the whole idea, is to separate themselves from the rest of the human race. So I think, like in a very basic way, whenever we're doing something that is life affirming, we're fighting fascism. And I absolutely believe that.
Sure.
And at the same time, yeah, so there's a song called Shit List on the new record, which is
Oh yeah.
just a fuck fascists song. And I think I made the shirts right around the time I wrote the song, and it came from the feeling like a lot of us have. I'm Jewish as well, so I think like
I
our
was going
people.
to get to that.
Yeah, it's another thing we have in common. So I think our people maybe have a slight more of a we're the canary in the coal mine in some ways. Lots of people are. Any people who come from have a history of oppression, which is most people in the U.S. Um, will have their radar go up and be like, wait a second, this sounds familiar. Like the stuff Trump was saying and the stuff, the QAnon people were saying and the Proud Boys and everybody who's kind of been in the news over the last couple years, they've been reawakening these ideas that never went all the way to sleep
No,
in
never.
America or anywhere else. So with the song and also with the fuck fascism shirts, I'm trying to make it feel fun and almost like you're at a pep rally to be anti-fascist rather than like we wear black and we smash Starbucks and that's what it means to be anti-fascist. I wanted to be like, no, we're sexy and cool and we sing songs and we're anti-fascist. It's great. Join the club.
Sure.
So that's kind of what I'm going at, and I made a video for the song Shit List as well, which just features a bunch of cheerleaders, and that's kind of the same idea. I'm like, I want it to feel like you're at a pep rally and you're a cheerleader, and we're like, fuck fascism, we're all in this together, yay!
Yeah, it's well said. I'm always trying to do things that are fun, and when times are serious, people forget that we don't have to be serious in art.
Yeah,
Um, and I it's so funny, like I've always been saying that the Trump era has been a very bad time for art, not just because he and his administration were anti-art, but in a reactionary way, people started to do things that were very pious and very serious, which isn't good for art either, because that doesn't necessarily resonate uh, outside of that day or that month.
yeah,
So no, it's refreshing. Your music, your performances, and especially what I love is your live streams, because um, doing a live stream, it ain't no joke.
it
Like
ain't.
you are you are on the spot. You got to
Yep.
use every tool that you got. So talk to me about doing these rent parties for the last year.
Yeah, just
Um,
had our 1 year anniversary. I know you did too.
yes. How do you prepare? Do you wear a diaper? Because I know you do like 5 hours.
Sometimes, not sometimes I wear a diaper, but yeah, sometimes we do 5 hour. I think our longest one was a 6 hour marathon. I believe I took a bathroom break. I have two guys in the band, so push comes to shove, they can play a song while I go to the bathroom.
Okay. Because I drink like a lot of water. Like
Yeah.
my shows are an hour, not for any other reason than like that's the minimum, like maximum amount of time I can go without peeing. Like,
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well, and another thing we have in common, I love the Tough Cookie shows, and I love how much you have made lemonade out of the lemons of not being able to tour. And I think you got to say something so the orange is on the screen. Yeah. Yeah, and I think I've tried to do the same thing. And so the rent parties started the way a lot of people's shows started in the pandemic, which was, all our gigs got canceled. I have two guys in the band. They've been with me for a long time, and they are both full-time sidemen. So they don't have some other job or teaching position or a band where they're the front person and they can ask for money directly. And I already was set up with a Patreon page, which I now know you're on there as well. Patreon's awesome. So my like basic monthly expenses were covered by Patreon. So I was like, I know I'm gonna make it through this pandemic, but I don't know how they're gonna make it through the pandemic. So the first rent party was literally just trying to raise enough money to pay Joe and Pat's rent. And we did that, so we just kept doing it. So we just paid their rent for 1 year running for the 13th time. And that's where the rent parties came from. As far as production, though, you're absolutely right. Steep learning curve with
yeah.
those live streams. Yeah.
Well, what's
So
it?
like,
First of all, talk about okay, the first one that you did. Um, no audience, no clapping, no laughing, no, you don't like, how are you gauging if you're hitting or bombing minute to
Yeah.
minute?
I mean, you don't really. Like, I also don't read comments. I have friends who do live streams and they read the comments while they come in. And I tried to do that once or twice and just found it like huge boner kill. Like, it's so hard to be doing a show and like working up your show spirit and then see somebody be like, your hair's dumb or whatever.
Oh,
Like, great way to ruin your whole performance.
well, I promise you one thing. Uh, the tough cookies, everybody that watches the show, they keep everything extremely positive.
That's awesome.
Um, and they're like a self-policing audience. When somebody sort of harshes the vibe, they like, which
Kibosh. No, I love that. And I would say mine are too to a pretty large degree. I do because I do a lot of political stuff. We always get one or two reply guys who are just like, "Well, I liked the music, but then you had to talk about the president and now I'm out of here," or whatever. But now whenever that happens, we'll get like 20 people being like, "Bye, buddy. You should have known. She's always talking about how Trump sucks," or whatever. So yeah, it mostly does stay positive. But even just like the multitasking element of reading comments, I gave up on it at some point. So yeah, the one thing I do, which not everybody does, I always have the selfie cam on when I'm doing a live stream because I have to have a face to look into, even
oh,
if it's my own face.
so you sing into your own eyes.
I do, which is like
Ooh.
super creepy, but I tried doing it without the selfie cam on and I was like, I don't even know where to look. Like, I don't know how to look at the camera if it doesn't have a face on it.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Other than that, it really helps to have a band. I've only done two of the shows solo, and all the rest have been with at least my bass player Joe, but most of them have been with all three of us. And that's great because we have a great time together as a band. That's the main thing we have going for us, and so we can still have a great time if it's just the three of us. So it's like easier to work up that energy with those guys than by myself.
And do you kind of like up the ante as you go? It seems like you did like uh challenge yourself, with the songs and how long the show is and just try to do better each time.
Yeah, totally. And just try to keep it interesting too. Like, we've done different themes, we've had guests sometimes, we've done marathons, and then we've done regular length. Like 2 hours is the shortest our shows are. So we've done a bunch of 2 hour shows and then various other lengths. We did one where we like played videos off of YouTube and talked about them. So yeah, we're always trying stuff. Lately, we've been really upping the ante with our visuals. We got a bunch of LED lights and like these little neon lights. There's one of them right there off of Amazon. So yeah, we're just always trying to keep it fresh. Is the trick? I think, and I know Tough Cookies is the same way. It seems like a lot of people now have made the rent party a part of their month, and like
Sure.
they come to it being like, okay, I need to be uplifted. Like I can't slog through another month of this pandemic, and so there's a big like community feeling in the comments, and people are starting to know each other and asking about each other's families and stuff. So that's really sweet, and I feel like that's been for us as well. Like I don't know how we would have survived without the monthly rent party. I think we would have really lost our connection to music in some way.
Carsie, what we have so much in common. It's like scary, but I gotta pivot back to Luray, Virginia for 1 second.
Okay.
Like, because now we got onto the Jew thing. So
Yeah.
I gotta like go back. I grew up in New Jersey. It's like, you know, we're everywhere.
Yeah.
What was it like being a wayward Hebrew in rural Virginia?
Yeah. Well, luckily I was the weird kid in every way. So, like, my Jewishness was not even top five weirdest things about
Okay.
me and my family growing up. My dad is a psychotherapist and an author. And he moved us to Virginia when I was a little kid to basically open a retreat center. So my dad was doing like group therapy workshops with like a bunch of random people from all over the world for my whole childhood. I also didn't go to school. So I was like the weird kid who wasn't in school. My friends would come over and there'd be like 30 random adults in the house, like yelling at each other and throwing pillows and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So So I was protected by being just weird, like through and through. Couldn't have been weirder. But I did not know any other Jews other than in my family until I was probably 17 or something.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Did did you or do you now feel like a connection when you meet other Jews when you're traveling, or is it just not that a big part of your identity?
I feel like I have an affinity for Jews who grew up in the South,
Sure.
because like being a Southern Jew is such a weird thing.
Yeah.
So, and I'm always like, I always feel like, yeah, we gave Louis Armstrong his coronet.
Mhm.
It's like, so yeah, somewhat. I also feel like there's a really strong tradition of Jewish songwriters, and that's probably the part of Judaism I connect to the most. I didn't get bat mitzvah. I didn't go to Hebrew school. Like we never went to temple or anything. So the religious aspect was like completely out of my life. And then because I was in the South, a lot of the cultural aspect was out of my life as well. But I remember learning like, oh, Leonard Cohen, he was Jewish, right? Like finding out that a lot of my favorite songwriters were Jewish,
Sure.
growing up and being like, oh, okay, so I could be part of this tradition. It's not just me out here.
But also for you, your appreciation of comedy, but especially dirty comedy,
Yeah,
that's our shit.
it's our people.
That's our shtick, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, we fit right in.
I mean, that's the first thing I notice with my non-Jewish friends, even as a kid when we would hang out with different families or whatever. It's like, oh, like our family just talks about all kinds of shit that, you know,
Yeah,
I guess you're not supposed to say.
right.
Um,
Totally.
last thing that I want to delve into.
Okay.
You made
Exciting.
you have a statement on your site. Uh, it's a quote I've heard a few people say in a few different ways, but I like your way of saying it. For years, I tried to sell out, but nobody was buying. Um, me too, babe. Me too.
Yep.
So I run my own record label. I have
Same. That's like thing 10 we have in common. High
yeah.
five.
I don't know about you, but it happened out of necessity and desperation. Rather, like it's not like I didn't try to get signed.
Yep.
Um, I just got turned down by everybody. And
Same.
I just sort of found myself running all my shit. Um, and I
Yep.
wish I knew earlier. Oh, like skip that part, skip that all the trying to get the nod from the music industry, and now just do it your own way.
Yep.
What was your experience with trying? With trying?
I mean, I would be lying if I said I had some turning point. Like, I pitched this last record to labels still. And even, although it was a little more like, fuck you guys, but do you want this? Like, I feel like my psychology has evolved around it, but I never reached a point where I was like, I'm doing it on my own because that's how I should do it, and this is what I always wanted. Like, I would love to say that it was like that, but it hasn't been like that. Like, I've always been, I think, a little on the outskirts of marketable, and so I've always like I've had like close shaves where it seemed like I was going to get the nod from the industry, and it always comes down to like, but what exactly are you? What are you really trying to do here? What kind of music is this? And like, I've never been able to say that, and I never will. And I think it's a curse to be able to say that. So I am at this point, I'm really happy that I run my own shit because I get to do whatever I want. And like, ultimately, that's what being an artist is supposed to be about, is like total freedom. You get to make whatever you can think of, right? So
Sure.
we have that. And in that way, we're totally living the dream, and there's no better way to do it than what we're doing. But like logistically, yeah, I was trying to get help from the industry this whole time.
Sure.
I never gave up.
Well, just outside the rim of marketable is a beautiful place to be.
It is. It's
And
nice out here.
you know, and once you accept that and lean into it, like I feel like your song Jacket is a good example of something where it's like, this is not a song that's going to get played on the radio,
Right.
but it's going to be a lot of people's favorite song,
Yeah.
you
And
know.
it's fun. It's fun to sing. Like that's what it comes down to. I have fun singing that song, so mission accomplished.
I'm sure there are a lot of people out there, men and women, who hear your songs and are like, God, I love her so much. I hope she never changes. I hope she just, just keep being you. Like this is your job,
Yeah. Well,
And
same to you. And like the good news is we came late to success, and so now we're stuck with ourselves. It's too late to change us now.
it's too late. I know it's too late, but it's so funny you said you're still trying because it's hard to it's hard to live outside the industry in a way because you need it. You just to operate, just to get your music out, your videos out, your shows booked, promoted. Like you can't do it all, you know, through the back door.
Yeah.
Um, and so you gotta kind of have one foot in, one foot out. And sure, like it's so every record, there's always that moment. Well, maybe this time.
I know. I'm in the sweet spot right before the release where I get to be like, oh, this one's going to be big.
Well, I don't know if it's going to be big, but it is great, and that's kind of all that really matters.
You're right. Thank you. That's so true.
Do you know?
Absolutely.
And you're a lifer,
Yeah.
and I just look forward to seeing what you do from here because
Aw.
you're probably you're more at the beginning than the middle. You know?
Beginner mind, at least. Yeah.
Sure.
Thank you, Adam. That's so sweet.
So listen, I can't wait for people. Everybody watches this show is going to go check out Love and Rage.
Yeah.
Everybody is going to check you out when you get out on the road. Okay, because that's going to happen.
Hallelujah.
Everybody that watches this show is going to go back or watch whenever you do another live stream, Rent Party.
Yeah.
Okay, because it's a wild time.
Amen.
And
Yeah, we got one on the 24th, I think. I don't know
really?
if that's when this comes out. Yeah.
Okay,
I
we'll
should
figure
check
this
that.
out before that.
Yeah.
What day of the week is it?
I believe it's on a Saturday. What month is this? Yeah, the 24th.
What time?
Uh, is yours also? Mine's in the afternoon.
Is it done by 6?
I think it is actually. I believe it's
Hi.
I believe it's either 2 to 5 or 3 to 6. It's one of those.
All right. So I start at 6 East. So
Nice. Do
everybody-
them both. Big day, double feature.
back to back Jewiness.
So Jewy. Dirty jokes,
And then
hair.
after mine, just watch Curb Your Enthusiasm for like a week.
To recover.
Carsie, have you ever covered anything from Annie?
Ooh, I haven't.
You
Is
might
this-
hate that question, but I'm, I love Annie, and like your music does have a little shade of, and your love for things like Mae West and
Yeah.
Louis Armstrong have a shade of, Depression era entertainment.
Yeah. And musical theater. I
And
know
you
we
use-
both
And
love
you
that
use
shit.
words like moxie.
That's right.
I love Annie. I don't know if you've like watched it or listened to it, but like the songs are great. The
Yeah.
is great. You should consider starring in a production of it.
I love that that's where you were going with that. I thought you were going to say, like, you should do tomorrow on your next rent party, but
No.
it's a
not
much
enough.
bigger ask. I like that.
No, it's not enough. You should mount your own community theater production of Annie.
All right.
Um,
Note taken.
I'll play the Tim Curry character from the movie, whatever that guy is called.
The only one I can think of is Daddy Warbucks, but I don't think it's him.
I can't pull that shit off. No one would believe that. But I just want to hear you sing some of those songs. Just putting it out there.
The sun will come out tomorrow. That's all I got.
Oh my, I'm getting like chills from that.
There's a lot of other songs in that movie, but I can't think of any of them right now. In
Uh,
that musical, I'll watch any musical any number of times. So I'm gonna return to that right now and find out if your this idea has merit, staying
please,
power.
please make it come true. Please. Love and Rage by Carsie Blanton out on the 30th. It's fantastic. And I know you'll do another record after that and another one. We'll see. I'll see you out on the road,
I would love that. I can't wait for that.
funny, talented Jewess that you are.
We'll have a drink in a bar or something.
I'll have
Crazy.
water. I'll have a water and an orange with you.
Nice. I'll take it.
All right, Cars. Keep in touch.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Adam. See you
Take
out there.
care. Bye.